Hello. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Bee and I'm basically going to be chatting about what I made in 2024 today. I know I'm a bit late to the party, it's already the end of March, but because I've been away for work, I haven't had access to all of my knits. This is kind of the first opportunity I've had to do this, and I thought it'd be really nice to have a little roundup, go through everything that I did, and I just thought it'd be nice to also have a record of what I made, basically. More sirens popping off out there. This might be a bit of a long video, so I have got my cup of tea, at the risk of sounding a bit too British, and I'm going to try to keep the yapping to a minimum because we've got quite a lot to get through, which is why I've got my trusty notebook next to me. I've basically just written down everything that I've made, and I've gone through my photos to essentially figure out when I finished making these items. So I'm going to try my best to go in order. There's a couple things that I'm not too sure when I finished that I didn't take a picture of. I'm going to do my best. Can you tell I'm liking blue at the moment? Oh yeah, this is my, completely forgot. This is my Zipit jumper that I started on the planes when I was travelling back to the UK. So finished it all up, sewed the zip in. Very happy with how it turned out. I'm loving this colour. It's too hot. Just also wanted to say a huge thank you for all of the love that my last video's got on. I'm overwhelmed with the positive response. So thank you so much for watching and subscribing. It genuinely means the world to me. And I'm hoping to make many more videos. So I hope you're not too sick of me yet. So I am going to start with how many things I made. The grand total is 26. I made 26 items. 25 of that is knitting. There is one bit of crochet that snuck its way in there. Breakdown of those things. The most popular things I made, joint first, are jumper and tops. I made 6 jumpers and 6 tops. I made 5 cardigans, and then I made 4 vests. And then I made 1 dress, although that was using the knitting machine. And then I've got a category of miscellaneous, for which I have 4, and that includes a pillow, socks, and bags. I also don't have all of these items. I will be holding things up and trying them on as I go, so you'll be able to see it while I'm talking about it. But for 3 of those things, I have gifted them to my mum. So I'll just have to put pictures up. I hope that's okay. So the first thing that I finished in 2024 was a blue drop stitch jumper. I actually got inspiration from this from Ava P here on YouTube. She actually had a tutorial on how to make either a top or a jumper using a sort of drop stitch method. That was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And then I crocheted white trim around the neckline, around the bottom and around the cuffs, which I thought was a fun little detail. And I do really like the way that it looked, but the reason I don't have it anymore is because the yarn was so itchy. It was very fun to make. I enjoyed making it. It was a good lesson on using different stitch types because I hadn't really strayed away from plain stockinette for a lot of projects at that point. So liked it a lot, wish I'd chosen a better yarn. Next up, we have a vest. So this was the first draft of my work of art vest, Girl with Pearl Earring. I knit this up pretty quickly because it's quite chunky, and I was really trying to get into intarsia. It was my second ever intarsia project. I really enjoyed making it. I really like intarsia, even though it's a bit annoying with all the bobbins and the thousands of ends that you've got to weave in is really quite tough. But the shaping just wasn't quite right. I tend to like a boxy fit in most cases, but it was just like a rectangle. I also did folded, what the heck is that called? Well, the ribbing at the armholes, I did that as a folded edge, and it made it look really quite bulky. I didn't like that. I liked the folded neckline, but not for the arms. But I finished that one in January as well. And then we skip to March. So I don't know what happened in February. Oh, I know what happened in February. I was on holiday a couple times in February, so I wasn't getting much knitting done. Although I did go to Barcelona, and they have loads of great yarn shops in Barcelona. I was very pleased. But the next one was one that I had started before I went on holiday but didn't manage to bring because there was so many balls of yarn that I had to bring with me to do this one. And this is actually one of my favourite projects. It is this checkerboard cardigan, and it's got a bit of a balloon sleeve to it. I basically did all of the panels separately using intarsia, as you can see from the inside. There were so many ends to weave in, it was insane. But this still remains one of my very favourite cardigans that I've made. It's just so hot I can't wear it very much. Again, I did this when I didn't have that much experience with creating garments and making shapes and everything. So the neck at the top, it is a tad wide, so it can slip off the shoulder a little bit. Finished this in March, still one of my favourites. Gonna start a pile here. We are moving on to my second iteration of my work of art vest girl with pearl earring. For this one I fixed the shaping and the armholes are just a single layer of ribbing rather than being folded. This is my version, this is a size small. I am really pleased. I altered the frame slightly just so it looked more like a frame that you'd see in a museum sort of thing. And this version I've actually got a little pearl that I sewed on. I did this before I did my colour analysis. Turns out this green is not for me, and I now only wear brighter colours. So I would actually really like to remake this in brighter colours, and I'm also thinking of modifying the pattern now that I've got more experience with shaping garments, just to update the pattern a bit, include some shaping, make it with a nicer yarn, I think, because this is an acrylic. I did that on purpose. You'd have to buy so many different yarns unless you had scraps for the intarsia, so I thought this was very affordable this way. One of my testers knit up a sample of this in a wool, and it looked so good because it was a bit fluffy. All of the colours sort of blended into one another and it really looked like a painting. It was gorgeous. So that is that. Bam. Next, in April, I finished another work of art vest girl with pearl earring. This was one for my mum. She wanted an oversized version in her favourite colour, which is teal. So I made that for her. She loves it very much. She wears it a lot. I whipped it up very quickly because by that point I'd already had 2 under my belt, so I was boshing out the rows. It's quite nice and easy with an iPad because you can just cross out the rows as you go, which is nice. But she really liked that. One of her favourite things that I've made her to date. So very pleased with that. So also in April, I finished off this pair of socks, but I got this yarn in Barcelona. This was some of the yarn, and I was following a free sock pattern because I can't quite remember what it was, but I just figured I want to see if sock knitting is for me, so I'm just going to try a free pattern. Turns out I'm not the biggest fan. I love it in principle. I think they look so gorgeous, especially all the stone knit patterns, like all the colour work ones. I would love to make some strawberry socks. But the teeny tiny little needles just really hurt my hands. And I hate DPNs. I'm not a DPN fan. But I still really like these. I like the bright colour. And it was a nice, easy sock, like a stockinette sock for my first sock project. So the next thing is a random little crochet piece. And this was when I had the urge to pick up the crochet hooks again. It's basically just 4 granny squares sewed into a little bum bag. I think I've only worn it out once, to be honest, because it's a bit out there, but it itched the crochet scratch that I had at the time, and I haven't actually picked up any crochet since. I just don't find it as mindless as knitting. Like it hurts my wrist a little bit because I crochet really unnaturally. Okay, we're moving on to May now. First thing from May, the Bowie vest. Let me do up the bows. Here it is. I think this is just the sweetest little vest ever. I love the bows on the side. I think it's such a nice layering piece, especially in the spring and the cooler summer evenings. I think I wear these with the gingham trousers normally because I love a little pop of red. But it's really nice and soft, it's not itchy, it's got this beautiful fuzziness to it, and I just love a bow detail. Love a bit of red. Next in May, this is a My Favourite Things knitwear. This is a very well-loved knit for me. It's like a bell sleeve and it's just this really cool mesh top. I call it my easy peeler top. It looks like the netting the oranges come in. But I've worn this so much. I've worn it on holiday, worn it to festivals. Very, very nice. I should probably give it a little block again because it's starting to lose shape. But the yarn that I used for this is the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. It feels more like a linen or a cotton than anything, but it's just the most beautiful light fabric when it's all worked up. I really love this. I think I used 2 balls of that. So a bit expensive, but worth it because I love it so much. I wear it all the time. Also in May, I went on holiday with my mum and I brought some cotton yarn with me, and with the aims of basically doing my first colour work project, stranded colour work. And I made this little halter top, which I think turned out really well. It fits very well. I just did some decreases down the side and then I folded this over, I sewed it so I could feed a little I-cord through. This is self-drafted. Look at my floats. It was my first time doing stranded colour work and I'm really pleased with how neat it turned out. So this is going to be something that I get a lot of wear out of this summer. So on the same holiday with my mum, I finished that top quicker than I thought I would because I spent lots of time knitting on the beach. But I had some of the white left over of that project, so I made a little white halter, not a halter top, like a little white vest top, which is backless. Thought it would be like a nice little bikini cover-up top because it is a bit see-through. That's the one problem with this top. And then round all the edges is stockinette, which I thought would look quite cool because it sort of rolls over. Very nice. I don't wear this top enough really. If I was to make it again, I would make this part slightly lower because it is quite high to my neck. I'd also make the armholes a bit bigger as well, I think, just because I don't like anything touching my armpits. I'm not a fan. Next, we are moving on to June. And this is one of my favourite tops I have ever knitted. This is inspired by Slow Love, which is a knitwear brand. They have this smiley face design on one of their jumpers, and I just thought it was so cool. And this one's got really nice low arms, which I like because I just don't like all my clothes being very tight and touching me a lot. This is using a mixture of intarsia and stranded colour work. Let me show you the inside. This is what it looks like on the inside. Still quite neat, I think. Very pleased with that. But I wear this all the time. I absolutely love this. Just a little tea break. So this is my first iteration of my pattern, which is the Coquette cardigan. It's my first try. I was basically just looking at my wardrobe and I was like, what am I missing? A red cardigan was top of that list, and I was inspired by the Bowie vest to do little bows for the cardigan. But this is using a James C. Brett. It's an acrylic wool blend, I want to say. I will correct myself if I'm wrong on the screen. And it's not a rough yarn, it's not scratchy, but it doesn't feel soft, which I don't have a problem with if I'm wearing things underneath. I think I make better yarn choices now from all of this trial and error over here. I really like the pop of colour, however, I thought that the ribbing was quite thin. Some people like thin ribbing, I quite like thick ribbing. The ties were also a bit thin, I wanted those to be thicker, and then also for the plackets, it's pulling a bit. So I think I picked up 3 of every 4 stitches here, when I really should have picked up 4 of every 5 to make it a bit more relaxed. So kicking it off with August, we have the Alexa top by Le Pull. I think that the design choices are really smart. So here we've got folded stockinette on the armholes. I used intarsia, but they do say that you can just do it in 2 panels and seam it together. I just absolutely hate seaming. It fits really well. One thing I will note is that it's a bit, I think that a few too many stitches have been picked up, but when you wear it and it stretches out, it's a lot less noticeable. I really like the folded collar here. You've got a line of garter stitch basically to help it keep it folded. In the pattern, the hem is folded as well at the bottom. I think a normal cast off is suggested. I would have rather done I wish I had done a stretchy cast off. I can still get it on fine, it's just a little bit, you've got to do a bit of manoeuvring. Okay, so next in August, I finished up this stripy top. This is by Untold. Very similar actually in terms of construction. It's got a folded stockinette edging and a folded stockinette round the neckline as well, and then some ribbing at the bottom. I was doing this with scrap yarn, which I was very happy to get out of my stash. I really liked the way it turned out. It's a bit short. I'm not normally fussed about cropped tops. This is a top that I would have worn to work if it was longer. But that's completely my fault. It's because I ran out of yarn. But this will be another summer wear. I am excited to get more wear out of it because I've only worn it a handful of times, which I think is a shame because I think a knitted top adds a really fun texture to an outfit. So plan on wearing that this summer. Next, in September, I finished the second iteration of the Coquette cardigan. So this, basically the changes I made was, as I said, I altered the placket pickup number. So you pick up 4 of every 5 stitches rather than 3 or 4. The ribbing is a lot thicker than before, which I really like. I like that as a design choice. The I-cord for the bows is thicker, although this can be altered in the pattern. You can choose whatever you want. I think I did some alterations to the sleeve as well. So that is essentially it. I really, really like this. I love the yarn choice. This is Isager or Isager. I don't know how to say that. I've never said it out loud before. It's the boucle yarn, which is a bit of a pain to work up because it's really hard to see stitch definition. So I wouldn't recommend it for beginners who want to see where you're dropping stitches so you can pick them back up and everything. The finished effect is just beautiful. It's this amazingly cozy, fuzzy cardigan, which I absolutely love wearing. So yeah, absolutely love that one. I really want to make a red one. I think that would be gorgeous. Bam. So next, I also finished this in September. It is a tote bag of a little 8-ball. This is a machine knit, and I was actually intending for it to be a jumper, but the shaping was really weird. It was one of my first projects on the knitting machine. I actually cut up the panels, which was really nerve-wracking, but I secured it down with a sewn edge, basically. Cut it up and made it into a tote bag. It's got this canvas lining. I think it's a nice funky addition to a plain outfit, basically. Big fan of this. The ends took ages to weave in, I will say that. So next, I finished this in September as well. This is one of my favourites I made all year. It's like a traditional tattoo-inspired crying heart. And I just really wanted a big, oversized, it's kind of like a top jumper hybrid because they're all folded hems apart from the neckline, which is ribbing. I absolutely love this. This is using Hobby 8x8 cotton. It's a nice chunky cotton. It does mean that it's really quite a heavy jumper. I think I ended up using 16 skeins of 50 grams. That's like 800 grams of knitting. I just love a graphic jumper. I love it so much. I want to make way more like this. I have got one quite similar that I'm writing a pattern for at the moment, which is my 8-ball jumper. But, I mean, if anyone would want a pattern for this, I am going to improve the shaping. I'm going to make another version. But yeah, if anyone wants a pattern for this, let me know. I can write one up. And because it's cotton, it's quite easy to wear all year round. Again, in September, I had a very busy month of knitting in September. This is the first iteration of my Zipit jumper, which I started when I was on holiday in Portugal with a friend. The yarn is Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in pea shoots. It's basically just like a raglan with a nice little ribbed detail within the raglan. And in this iteration, the sleeves are straight and also the collar was just way too wide. It grew so much with blocking. I hadn't anticipated that really, because the weight of the arms basically stretched it quite a lot. But that is the first iteration. Like that a lot. Moving on to October, we've got the first garment from the knitting machine, which is this really scrappy cotton jumper. I basically bought a lot of balls of yarn from Sostrine Greens. Yeah, I bought a lot of cotton yarns and I basically just used a whole bunch of different patterns and stripes and colours, and I did it in panels. You can see here the seam up the middle, and I just sewed them together. It's like a nice wide boat neck, which I didn't have many silhouettes like that, so I thought it would be a nice addition. And it's just like a nice straight arm, keep it nice and simple. Didn't finish any of the edges because I thought it would look quite cool if they rolled, but that is a really funky piece and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I would actually love to make something with brighter colours, essentially. I'd like to do lots of reds, blues, greens, pinks, which I know is already in here, but I want like bright colours. Bright colours. Next, I wanted to see how difficult it would be to knit a dress on the knitting machine. This is a lovely red boucle yarn. I don't know the exact brand of yarn this is. I got this from a crafting charity shop in Norwich, where I am from, when I was visiting home. And I got a massive skein of this. I still have quite a lot left, to be honest. Don't look at that, I haven't weaved the ends in. But I really love this dress. The shaping took me a couple attempts because I kind of wanted it to be shaped like a bodycon dress with some slits there. I really like this. The only reason I don't wear it quite so much is because it is see-through. But it was a good experiment. I'm glad I did it. I learned a lot on the knitting machine, a lot that I want to basically implement for the next time. We're still in October, but this was the last knit that I did before I left for Australia. And it is this cherry jumper. I was using a very similar pattern to the Crying Heart jumper I did, but this is a bit more, I decrease a bit more in the arm, so it's not quite as oversized. I did this colourful edging on the ribbing. It's on 3 of the edges, not all of them. I really like this. I haven't had much chance to wear this actually, because I literally finished it, blocked it, and then I was gone to Australia like 2 days later pretty much. So I do need to wear this now while it's still a little bit cool outside. It's very pleasant temperature wise. Bam. We haven't got all that much left. In November, the second iteration of the Zipit jumper here. So here I have got some tapered arms. The shaping's a bit better. The neckline is a lot better. It's actually quite fitted to the neck, which is what I was going for. Then when you wear it open, it's just like a nice open collar like what I'm wearing now. But I think this has to be one of the neatest things I've ever hand knit. I don't know what came over me, but I didn't even do twisted rib or anything. The 2x1 is so neat. I have to come closer. Look how neat that is. Are you looking? Are you looking? And I'm really pleased with the zipper application, even though the zipper is a couple centimetres too short. That's my bad. I just really liked the look of this zipper. Honestly, it's just one of the most shop-bought looking things I've made, in my opinion. Love it. And it's got like a Rook bind off, because I was looking for ages for a nice bind off for 2x1. And I found that, and I really like the way it looks. It kind of makes a bit of a feature of the bind off. But very nice. One of my most well-loved knits, for sure. We're on to December now. And this is just my stripe cardigan, my own pattern. And this is using Chaska Puree yarn, which is an Australian brand, which I will link. I travelled quite light going to Australia. I only had 30 kilos allowance for the entire 3 months. But then because I was off to Thailand, which only had 25 kilos allowance, I had to keep under 25. So I went out with about 21 kilos in one big suitcase. Didn't bring many layers because I didn't think I'd need them, which I didn't for the most part, but the evenings still got quite cool in Canberra. So I thought I wanted a really small ply cardigan, which would be a nice layering piece to wear in the evenings and to work, which was aircon, because I was quite cold. And this is what I made. I actually knit this up while on a road trip up the east coast in Australia over Christmas. So it's got a lot of nice memories attached to it. I was doing a lot of knitting on the beach. I'll have to insert some footage. But I am so pleased with how this turned out. It is, alongside with my Zipit, the red Zipit jumper, one of my most worn cardigans. And everything about it is what I enjoy. I enjoy the wide sleeves, I enjoy the crop, I enjoy the pop of colour in the stripes. Yeah, one of my absolute favourites. I really, really like this knit. And I would actually like to make it in some more colours. I'm thinking blue with the main stripe, and then like a bright green involved somewhere, and maybe a pink, I don't know. Leave suggestions if you've got any colourway suggestions. The last garment I made, also in December, I don't have. It was a gift knit for my mum. It was a coquette cardigan that she asked for. She wanted it in grey and some nice Australian wool. So I finished that up in December for her, got it all finished and blocked, and I actually just gave it to her this past weekend when I went home, and she's very, very pleased with it. Because I actually wore it a couple of times when I was in Australia. But yeah, that's all the garments. The only thing left to talk about is this pillow, which is behind me. This was my first machine knit project. I just wanted a nice, easy thing to make with leftover yarn. I just wanted something to go with the rest of the pillows that I have behind me. Nice stripy black and white, and then up the back, bam, green. I really like the way it looks, but I like the way it looks on the bed with all the rest of it with the pop of green coming out. And that was just a really nice, easy project when I was getting to grips with the knitting machine. I basically seamed all the edges with my sewing machine as well. I hate seaming by hand. I cannot express to you how violent seaming by hand makes me feel. That is all of my knits of 2024, but I'm really pleased with what I have managed to make. I think I learned a lot, and I think it's quite evident how much I've improved over the year, which is really satisfying to look back on everything that I made compared to things that I'm making now, and seeing some tangible improvement. It's so satisfying, especially seeing as I'm designing some patterns now. It's really satisfying to see me figuring out garment shaping and basically what looks better on the body. But that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching if you made it to the end. Feel free to comment down below what you want to see from this channel. I've got a couple vlogs in the making. I just like making vlogs of my current projects, so that'll be coming up shortly. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.